Hey, welcome to Thoughts from the Movies. This show is two best friends who grew up together watching, loving movies, went into their own careers in and around the film industry, arguing about movies. I'm Josh Elsass. The gentleman across the table from me is Justin Luderin.
Welcome, guys.
And coming through your microphone right now is...
John Williams' classic, Duel of the Fates.
Thank you.
Which we will get more into later in this episode.
Which
An iconic piece of music from Star Wars.
is from what movie?
The most underrated of all the Star Wars, and some might say the best Star Wars movie of all time. Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which we are here to discuss today. Josh is one of the many misguided folks who think that this movie is no good. It's bupka. It's terrible.
Bupka.
Yes, bupka.
Bupka.
Might be a word. I don't know.
It is a word.
But I am here to tell him why, to educate him on exactly why this is the most underrated of all the Star Wars, why it's a fantastic film that certainly stands out among all the others in the canon. And by the end of this segment, he's going to understand why exactly.
By the end of
that
this
is.
one segment or by the end of the entire show?
Well, by the end
You're
of the
going to
first
try to
segment.
do it all
Am I that good?
in one shot.
Am I that
All
good?
right.
Yeah. The home run segment here at the beginning is going to do it. So, who's starting, me or you?
You?
Okay. Well, the discussion again today. Star Wars The Phantom Menace. Overrated or underrated? Me, Justin Luderin, I say that this is the most underrated of all the Star Wars films. And here's why. I'm going to talk about a few points. I'm going to start with the faults that people have with this movie, and then I'm going to tell you the one single reason why this movie is phenomenal and so underrated and misunderstood. The faults that people usually have with this movie, to get those out of the way, are usually the same couple things, right? Jar Jar Binks, people hate the character pretty universally ever since he came out. There's no question about that. No one really liked his comedy. No one was into him as a character. Jake Lloyd's acting as Anakin, people seem to have issue with. They don't think it's all that good. They don't really like him so much. And then some of the story points, people don't love how it came together, how it was all connected, certain things like that. So those are the main issues that a lot of people seem to have with Star Wars.
It sounds like you're just shitting on it. I thought you were going to tell me why I'm wrong.
I'm addressing the critics' issues. And first I'm going to say to those critics' issues, Jar Jar Binks is in this trilogy for a total of 20 minutes, so he's not really that detrimental to it, okay? First off, let's get that out of there.
So you're
don't like
saying
his
that
comedy.
he's the Anthony Hopkins Hannibal of the Star Wars
He's the
series.
Hannibal Lecter of the Star Wars series.
All right,
yes.
I need to
That
make sure that
impactful.
was what you were saying.
That impactful,
All right.
yes. But okay, so he's not really that detrimental to it. Jake Allen was 7 years old when this movie was shot, and I dare you to find me a 7-year-old who's freaking Daniel Day-Lewis, for all you people who don't think the acting was good enough
His
for the
name's
kid.
Macaulay Culkin.
He was just fine in this movie. He was perfectly fine. And then the story, Star Wars is a visual experience. We're not Shawshank Redemption here, okay? It's never what it was. It's never what it will be, okay? It's not about the complexities and the intricacies. For all intents and purposes, a lot of the Star Wars movies are very similar stories. And it's all about the visuals when it comes to this particular franchise. Now, the singular reason that I will say that this movie is so incredible and what so many people don't seem to appreciate about it, this is the beginning. This is the start of an epic journey, and no matter what it is, whether it's Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, whether it's Fellowship of the Ring, whether you're watching The Office Season 1, for the 20th time, there's always this excitement in the beginning of what could happen, what things will be, where you're going to go, the possibilities, right? There's just this fun, exciting phase to it when you're just starting the journey. And that's true of any epic series, whether you've seen it once, whether you've seen it a million times. This one, we know the ending, but we don't know the beginning and the middle. We don't know how we're going to get there. So there's this optimism about all the exciting things that are going to happen, right? And this sort of youthful excitement about it. And to elaborate on a little bit, right? This movie, the goal of this movie is for Palpatine, who is the Senator Palpatine, to become Chancellor. That's it. That's the only goal of this movie. And the narrative vehicle through which that story is told is Queen Amidala and the Naboo. And then we see it through the perspective of the Jedi, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, and later through Anakin, who comes into the story a little ways into it. This whole middle trilogy is about Padme and Obi-Wan and Anakin. They're the three characters whose POV we see the most throughout this middle trilogy. And they're so young in this movie. Anakin is a 9-year-old slave boy on Tatooine. Queen Amidala, Padme, is a 14-year-old newish to the throne queen. And Obi-Wan is a young man, still a Padawan learner. And you see their worlds open up in this movie. Anakin, he's like, you're a Jedi Knight? I get to go on a starship? We're going to the middle of the Republic? Like, he, to me, embodies what the audience feels seeing this movie. It's just this wide-eyed excitement of all the things, all the worlds we're going to get to explore, and all the things we're going to be open to. And Amidala goes from this Queen of Naboo who's just trying to figure out how to rule to making this badass speech in the middle of the Senate and everything. And Obi-Wan goes from a Padawan to killing Sith Lords by the end of it. There's so much. All these characters are so young at the start, and we sort of embody their youth, and we see, this movie starts everything with this youthful optimism about what everything could be. So that, to me, is the singular reason I think this movie is so understood. People think, oh, Jar Jar's stupid or whatever, and we don't like it because it's different. It's so unique, and there's such a sense of fun and excitement to this, where so many of the other ones are bleak and oppressive, and in these later movies in this trilogy, very filled with angst. So it's overall the tone of this movie, I think, that is why it stands out so much in the lore, and that's why it's underrated. Josh, rebuttal. He doesn't have the words because he's stunned. He's been stunned into silence.
Thank you for that very shitty recap of a shitty movie.
Oh, it's like that. It's like that. Already.
Justin Luderin.
Bring it.
We have been friends for over 20 years. We have watched so many movies together. We have become brothers in not just life, but also in this craft that we both fell in love with at the tender age of 12 or 13.
Not anymore, buddy.
What does Yoda say? Something about your passion or your love blinds your judgment. And you know what's really funny is that Yoda says that a couple movies later to Anakin. And he also says it to Luke. And it's really funny because it's almost like they knew how shitty the fucking movie was that they needed Yoda to make up for it later.
Get out of here.
This movie's fucking terrible. It's
outta
bad
here.
Start to finish. It looks bad. It has a shitty fucking dumb character that makes fart jokes. There's absolutely the dumbest Jedi on the planet. Named Qui-Gon-Jinn running around doing whatever the fuck he's doing.
How dare you insult the memory of Qui-Gon Jinn, you bastard.
We'll get into it later. We're going to really break down this movie in a couple of different ways.
Oh, you are.
Qui-Gon makes so many mistakes that leads to the Skywalker series, and it's him being a hotshot.
What? A hotshot?
Fucking Yoda told him not to train the kid.
You're so confused.
Look, the dog... I'm going to jump to the wide.
Go ahead. Go finish.
Gotta jump to the wide. I don't know if they could see the dog jumping off the couch, but
yeah,
it's
he's getting
crazy.
Away from you because you're crazy.
It's crazy how bad this movie is. It's disturbing how bad this movie is. And at the end of the day, quit trying to bury Phantom Menace, asshole. Can't wait for you to ruin the quotes.
Amen. Yes.
Says
Amen.
boy Derek. Qui-Gon Jinn is literally the only Jedi the Emperor fears, so that's a trash-ass statement, Derek.
Qui-Gon Jinn is like the one element of this movie
garbage
that's universally beloved. Liam Neeson's performance is acclaimed by all. You are confused, my friend.
Do you just...
And the visuals?
We spent so much
The
time on a
visuals.
rundown that I want to just do the rundown.
Yeah.
But also, I just need to tell you about how Qui-Gon's a fucking idiot.
The visuals in Qui-Gon are 2 of your 3. I'll give you Jar Jar. Like I said, that's what people don't like.
And
but
here's
the
what's
visuals
here's
are
what's
amazing,
here's
and
what's
Qui-Gon's
crazy. The
fantastic.
only saving thing about the movie is if you think about Jar Jar being a fucking Sith Lord. That's the only redeeming quality of this movie is when you watch it through the lens that Jar Jar's the puppet master pulling all the fucking strings.
Explain this to me and the audience because A, it doesn't make any fucking sense. But B, for those who are unfamiliar with this ridiculous theory, please enlighten.
So there is a number of different scenarios that happen throughout the movie in which Jar Jar. I see the chat blown up, so I want to make sure I get to that here in a second. But there's a lot that the Jar Jar makes you think he's an idiot because it's a disguise. Okay, he is actually what I believe to be a self-trained, Force-sensitive person who leans evil.
Whoa, that's not what you said. You said Sith Lord.
So
Sith Lord, Darth Jar Jar.
Here's where I'm at. He's never crowned a Sith Lord on screen because I believe that George Lucas had intentions for him to be exposed as a dark character and pulled the plug because of the backlash of the crowd about Jar Jar. Mm-hmm. Because even if you think about whether or not Jar Jar was bad or not, he clearly pulled Jar Jar out of the other 2 movies. He was left in where he needed to be.
That's true.
But they totally pulled Jar Jar out.
Yes.
And then they insert this weird old dude, Count Dooku, who looks older than Palpatine. So how could he be his apprentice? You know what I mean?
Well, don't even get to Count Dooku yet.
I'm getting there. Okay. So like I'm saying that I think they totally meant for Jar Jar to be a bigger part of it. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when they pulled Jar Jar, they like horseshoed Count Dooku in there because they needed to. All right. So here's some suspicious shit.
Sure. Let's hear what the deep Reddit users have to say about Jar Jar's theories.
All right. I'm trying to find all my Jar Jar notes. Okay. Jar Jar is conveniently there when the Jedis show up on the planet, right? And I have a suspicion that he recognized Qui-Gon-Jinn because he jumps on him, which seems just like a really bizarre move, okay? So that's kind of weird.
Uh-huh.
I think he knew who he was. It's the Gungam language that makes people think he's dumb, right? Even though he proves to be a fairly powerful politician later. And whether or not you think he was in control during the battle, he does general a winning side in that battle, okay?
A powerful politician later?
Mm-hmm.
How is that true at all?
He gets the entire Senate to vote for Palpatine.
He introduces emotion. That's all he does.
But he gives a rousing speech that everybody...
Jar Jar?
Yes.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah. And he's doing something with his hands. He's gesturing with his hands.
Yeah, you said it was a rousing speech.
Who else gestures with their hands when they're trying to convince people? Jedi?
Mussolini?
Heard of it?
Hitler? I don't know.
Jar Jar is Hitler! Yes! You're finally coming around. Jar Jar manipulates his way into going with the Jedi, right? He like convinces them to go through the core, right? And instead of being punished like he should have been, he manages to convince the Jedi that you need to take me with you so that he can stay with them, okay?
He doesn't do any convincing. He does. Hey, he's like, first of all, Boss Nass tells them they have to go through the planet core, and they don't know any better, so they're like, yeah, okay. And Jar Jar's like, if you want to help me out here, they're going to kill me, so that'd be great. And you're saying that Jar Jar used his Sith Lord mind tricks over Qui-Gon Jinn to get him to take him.
No. I'm saying he manipulated his way. He didn't mind fuck anybody. He manipulated his way into getting there. Let me go into the chat before I get my first clip up here.
Someone in the chat, please tell Josh he needs some help.
It's crazy how bad this take is. You have trash-ass takes from Derek. How bad it's... that's how bad it is. How dare you? It was made in 99. CGI.
99. The visuals, man. Compared to the last series, they're incredible in 99. They're fantastic.
George was behind. Obviously, they're going to use it. Jar Jar Sith Lord take is garbage. Can you stop screaming? Brody is sleeping. He is very much awake and mad right now. I wish I was here yelling louder.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brody. Misa no. All right. So let's examine this clip here. So
Okay.
Jar Jar is going to take them to Gungam land, right?
Yeah, Gangnam Style land, like you're saying. Yeah.
That's a hell of a fucking dive.
What? He's an amphibious creature. What? You're
An
saying that
amphibious creature would not be able to jump like that, Justin.
you don't know anything about what Gungams. Now you got me saying it. Gungans.
Gungans.
Yeah. Now you got me talking like that.
So-
You don't know anything about Gungans.
But the flip looks familiar. You cannot deny that the flip looks like a Jedi flip.
What's a Jedi flip?
A Jedi flip? This is a fucking Jedi flip. Let me show you what a fucking Jedi flip
Anybody
is.
could
I
do
got
a
this
flip.
all
I'll
fucking
do a flip
turned
off the
around.
freaking couch right now. And you're going to say, I'm a Sith
Watch,
Lord.
he centers himself, right?
Yes.
Launches into the air and does this like wild twist, right?
Okay.
Obi-Wan's going to do that later when he pulls himself up off the thing. Think about when Luke does the dive board trick in Return of the Jedi.
One flip.
Okay.
No, I don't,
Well,
I don't buy that
all right.
connection.
Also,
way.
in the next clip, as we watch Jar Jar stumble seemingly through this battle,
Okay.
what colored clothes is Jar Jar wearing? They're black.
Yeah, the same as all the other Gungans.
No, the other Gungans wear brown.
They have to distinguish
Watch.
Jar Jar.
Watch. When you see the other one coming, when the other one comes in, like you can see them in the background. They're clearly wearing brown and gray. His clothes are jet black.
A, he's a general in this battle, so he's got to have a different uniform. And B,
No, because look at the other general when he's on the fucking horse.
You have to distinguish Jar Jar so the audience can find him visually. You can't have him be in the same uniform as everyone else because
He's
like
a different
everybody else.
color from everybody else. He's
That's so
red.
the audience can find him.
So you don't need to worry about the fucking clothes color. The clothes color was done on purpose because he's a goddamn Sith.
I don't think this theory holds any water at all. This is just, you're reaching for straws here, man.
Also, this entire sequence, I just want to point out, this like stumbling through a battle is an actual technique that is used in Kung Fu. It's called Drunken Master. This is very real. And a lot of the movements Jar Jar is using are mirrored versions of that. The way he staggers, the way he throws punches and dekes and moves is very similar to Drunken Master. Okay? Which all the other Jedis, the way they fight, are also modeled after Kung Fu. Yeah.
Okay, well, I have 5 words in one sentence that debunks your whole Jar Jar is a Sith Lord theory.
Go for it.
There can only be 2. That is the code of the Sith, admitted by the Sith and admitted by the Jedi Council, Yoda and Mace Windu. There cannot be another one while Darth Maul and Darth Sidious are the 2 Sith.
So let me get this straight. Jedi and Sith are mortal enemies.
Yes.
Okay. So you think that the Sith told the Jedi, like, hey man, there's only ever going to be 2 of us. You don't need to worry more than that. And they just like they were never going to cheat. The bad guys were never going to lie about that.
It's not about that. This is part of their tradition and their code. It's in Sith texts that says there can only be 2.
Explain Count Dooku. How do you explain away Count Dooku existing in the same timeline where Palpatine and Maul exist?
He exists, but he's not a Sith Lord in this movie. We don't know what he's doing in this movie. He was a Jedi before he was a Sith, so we don't know. I mean, Episode 2 takes place 10 years later. We don't know what Count Dooku's doing right now, and I guarantee you he's not a Sith.
I find it
he's a
hard
Sith
to
in
believe.
Episode 2
I
after
find
Darth
it
Maul
really
is
hard to
dead.
believe that Palpatine, arguably the greatest bad guy fucking ever. We'll just get that out there now. I think we can all agree in that chat, right? Hopefully. Darth Binks. Yes. Hang on. Let's see what.
No.
All Gungans have
False.
those abilities. I don't think we see the other Gungans or whatever do flips and shit, Boyd. I was really paying attention during the battle scene. They're using shields and weapons, but they're not like acrobatic like Jar Jar
Because you
is.
don't see it doesn't mean it's not possible.
Comes down to the CGI, brother. I don't think it does. They use the same animation for the flip. See, I do think they did use the same animation for the flip, but I don't think that was a character or a thing of convenience. I think that was real. I think Anastasia posted the Jar Jar theory in here. Thank you, Anastasia.
You're basing way too much of this theory on a simple flip into the water for a creature who lives on land and water and is semi-acrobatic. And you're taking that way too far.
How is not Vader the best bad guy? I think that's not what we're going to talk to you about today. But like, yeah, it's like a depending on what trilogy you're in depends on who the best bad guy is. Palpatine's the best of the prequels and the sequels, and then obviously Darth Vader in the middle.
We'll get into the villains.
His arc is way better. You're crazy. Shit takes. Poop
Yeah.
takes. Thanks. So where was I with Jar Jar?
I don't know. I was so confused.
I legitimately do think, though, whether or not he's a deemed Sith Lord or Darth or anything like that, I do legitimately believe he is Force sensitive, and he knows how to manipulate it. He knows how to use the Force.
And his whole being clumsy and being stupid and coincidental bumping into people is all this grand scheme.
And even think about when he gets they're like, what'd you do to get exiled? He's like, I accidentally blew something up or whatever. That could have very easily been Jar Jar learning to use the Force.
Because he crashed the boss's Hidglibber?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what a Hidglibber is.
I mean, he could have, like, it's like their little ship thingy.
Sure, maybe. Yeah.
But he probably was, like, trying to control it and crashed it. Also, let's not forget that Palpatine is from Naboo. And if Jar Jar was Force sensitive, you don't think that evil Palpatine is going to go check out that other Force sensitive creature on his home planet?
I'm sure that there are other Force sensitive beings on Naboo besides Jar Jar.
But are they as powerful as Jar Jar?
I don't buy this Jar Jar being
also,
powerful.
I believe that I legitimately believe that Jar Jar knew Palpatine ahead of time. In Qui-Gon's funeral, they're standing next to each other.
Dude, you're reaching so far on like the smallest of details. I can't say it's not possible, but I would say highly improbable based on all this evidence.
Boyd, I was talking about in the Star Wars, not necessarily across all movies. Obviously, Heath Ledger's Joker is one of the best, if not the best. Although we had Hannibal Lecter up there pretty high too, I think. So
we did.
Yeah. All right. That's the hot take.
So yeah, there's Josh's interesting take. He hates the movie and he thinks Jar Jar is the greatest Sith Lord that's ever been created. So interesting.
So we kind of already talked about this, but is it overrated or underrated?
My vote is for underrated, and I explained why in the open, but we'll get into more of these topics that explain why down the list here. So underrated all the way for me.
We already covered Jar Jar as a Sith Lord. I don't think I did it justice. There is a link in the chat. Go through it. I highly recommend it. And if anything, it does make, and you know I love the change the character question, like recast question or whatever. And I think watching this movie, in particular this movie, with the lens that Jar Jar's a bad guy, it makes the movie better for me.
It's an interesting idea. I don't think I've heard anything that convinces me it's even remotely possible or probable. But who knows? I'm sure there are theories that go deeper into it.
Sure.
But
all right, let's talk about this.
Yeah, while we're on the topic of villains, let's go into arguably one of the best in Star Wars and the most memorable for sure. I mean, you have Vader in the original trilogy and the Emperor. There's no denying their place. But in a world where you have Darth Vader, Count Dooku, the Fetts, Jango and Boba Fett, Jabba the Hutt, General Grievous, Darth Sidious, some really classic villains. I mean, I think Darth Maul stands out in such a way because he's so unique when it comes to his look, his weapon, his fighting style. I mean, one thing you have to really remember is that this movie came out in 1999. It was 15 years after the original trilogy, and the original trilogy were not reserved in a sense, but this just took things to such another level in terms of the VFX, in terms of the action sequences, in terms of the fighting styles. I mean, this was just a full-on other level. And you look at Darth Maul, and he is just such an incredibly intimidating, scary look. Like, he's the embodiment of pure intimidation and evil. He's got the horns. He's got the face paint. He's got the eyes that are fiery. I mean, like, his look is designed to scare the living shit out of you and stare through you and just put the fear of God into you. I mean, he is, if you look at the prequel series, hands down, he's the best villain, I think. And even amongst all the ones in Star Wars lore, he is incredible. I mean, you just look at his entire look and how he fights with the double-bladed lightsaber, which had never been seen before, and that's just such a badass moment when that pops out.
What's up, Callie Fortune?
I mean, to me, Darth Maul, I think, is probably the most exciting and coolest villain and most intimidating of the entire prequel trilogy. Josh, your take on him, given the other villains and his look and everything we just discussed.
So Boyd,
I love Darth Maul. He's phenomenal to me.
Boyd in the chat, Boyd of Idiot Hour, and who'll be on Two Beers Deep tomorrow. Boyd points out that Darth Maul is a man of few words.
Sure.
I always forget that he fucking talks in the movie.
Barely. It's all about the look and the intimidation.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's so cool how little words he has. And, like, really, you probably didn't even need for him to have words.
Right.
And in hindsight, I'm probably thinking they wish that he didn't talk. But he is so cool. I think, particularly, especially as kids, right,
I mean,
the double lightsaber.
Like, we were 9 when this movie came out, the same age as Anakin, right? And I just remember, like, goosebumps at certain moments. I thought this was the coolest fucking thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. For Halloween that year, this is who I was, and I had this lightsaber in my hand for, like, months after this movie. This was
You did. I remember.
so incredibly cool and unique and not hokey, because Star Wars has been known to try things that are extreme and don't work. I think this is
Jar Jar being one of them.
I think this is an example of something that is different but not like too crazy out there, that it works so well in every way. And Darth Maul, I think I can say Darth Maul is my favorite villain of all the prequels. And if Darth Vader wasn't so iconic and the Emperor wasn't so iconic, he would be mine number 1.
So here's my 1 through 5. Yeah, 1 through 5 of the Sith. Okay. Number
Are we
5.
talking entire canon or just the movies?
Movies.
Live action movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Snoke is obviously 6.
Don't even get me started.
I have a soft spot for Dooku.
I do. I like Dooku.
I don't know why, but I do. And actually, I have Dooku above Maul. And I know that's not necessarily a good pick. It has a lot to do with my dead dad. We'll bring that shit up later.
I don't dislike Dooku. I mean, Christopher Lee is amazing as an actor, and that fight with Yoda is insane.
And it's also around, is it after does Lord of the Rings come out or before?
I think
right around.
After, I think Attack of the Clones was 2002 and First Lord of the Rings was 2001.
So like, Dooku,
you're like Saruman and Dooku back to
I'm like, this is great. He's the best bad guy ever. Yeah.
He's killer.
And then I have Snoke, Maul at 5, Dooku at 4. I love Kylo. And technically Kylo's the one that brings the balance to the Force. And I get the daddy issue, fucking character.
Right.
And then I have Vader and then Palpatine at 1.
Okay.
That's me though. And I don't think my love for Palpatine has anything. Californian says probably because Lee can act his ass off no matter the subject. That's fucking right. He really can.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
He really can.
Yeah, we love him.
So I think I just love Palpatine probably for all the wrong reasons. Like, I do it, like the lightning.
There's no denying his place.
I think that's why I like him better. And like as much as Vader, I think Vader pre-seeing Anakin is cooler than after you get the backstory a little bit.
Sure.
And then he kind of gets his cool back when like his grandson is so obsessed with him because he was such a badass.
Well, I never got into Kylo Ren. He was so like overly dramatic and not intimidating and more just like a little
that's
kid
Adam Driver though too.
Like, I think Adam Driver's a great actor. I really respect him, but I didn't like that portrayal as the villain. I think in Force Awakens he had some really cool moments, but as that trilogy went on, it was just too much like on the verge of tears-ness for me. But
that's
Darth Maul is one of the things about the Phantom Menace that I mentioned briefly in the open, but there's just so many memorable things about it, whether you like it or you don't like it, and a lot of it is the characters, right? And Darth Maul is just one of those characters who's so fucking cool and just stands out in your mind as one of the awesome things about this movie, which, the other Star Wars movies, for the most part, all have the same villains of the Emperor and Vader, right?
Yeah.
So this one's just unique in so many ways, and a lot of that comes down to the characters that are only in this movie, like Darth Maul.
So Boyd says Maul, Vader, Palpatine, Dooku, Snoke. He says fuck Kylo. Callie Fortune, let us know your rank of the Siths there in the chat. Yeah, Maul's badass. Everybody loves Maul. Double lightsabers,
Definitely.
Cool guy. He's so cool that literally Insidious stole him to make him their bad guy. The movie's Insidious.
Oh, okay.
Like, if you look at, I don't have it pulled up, but the bad guy in Insidious looks exactly like fucking Darth Maul.
So he is the apprentice of Darth Sidious, and then he is Insidious. He's literally Insidious.
He is
That's the nature of their relationship.
He's literally
Insidious.
Insidious.
Now I know why he got picked to be his apprentice.
Right.
He was
exactly.
Insidious.
He's Insidious. Bad puns. Bad puns.
Okay. Well, on that note, let's bring it down to the next one. We have Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon versus Darth Maul. The question here, is this the single best lightsaber battle in the live-action Star Wars movie? And I'm going to say, I have to say that the Anakin and Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith, which is like 20 minutes long, is so amazing. And for the length of it, it might be the best. But this one is by far the coolest, and you have the Duel of the Fates track playing underneath it, which we played in our open here. I mean, everything about this one screams fucking awesome. You have 2 versus 1, 2 Jedi versus 1 Sith with the double-bladed lightsaber like we mentioned. And it's so much different than the original trilogy lightsaber battles. You know, even with Luke and Vader where it got, pretty intense there in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. The martial arts involved in this one with the flips and spins and everything, particularly by Maul and a little by Obi-Wan. The ferocity and the intensity level of this one. The choreography is so much more intricate and better. Plus that track underneath. I mean, Duel of the Fates is so goddamn iconic and just puts seriously, it gives me goosebumps every time I hear it. So all of that combined, I mean, I don't know how you say this one is not the best. Plus what's at stake here, which is Duel of the Fates is the song playing underneath here. Mm-hmm. And I only recently found this out. It fucking blew my mind because I never really thought about it. Duel of the Fates is the John Williams score under this fight. And the reason it's called Duel of the Fates is because of the fates that are at stake in this fight. And it's Anakin's fate. Darth Maul's goal of this entire movie is to kill the Jedi to prevent them from taking Anakin because the Emperor wants Anakin for himself. He fights Qui-Gon on Tatooine and tries to kill him. And at the end of this movie, the Duel of the Fates, there's literally 2 fates for Anakin that are in the balance. If Darth Maul wins, Anakin will end up with the Emperor, who's the senator in this movie, but he'll go down that path. If Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan wins, he becomes trained as a Jedi, and he goes down that path. So this fight is literally about the fate of Anakin, which you don't really think when you're watching it. You're just like, this is such an awesome fight, but that's why the song is called that, and that's what is at stake here. And that just blew my mind. Like, I couldn't believe that, but it's true.
So I want to go back to the chat here because Callie Fortune is bringing up some great stuff. Maul is a character that was able to be molded in any way. The rest needed actors to bring them to life, which is a great point. And the look of that actor, the look of the guy is just so incredible. Even over anything created with CGI or any other animation, Maul is just the pure intent of the creator. Yeah,
Definitely.
I mean, it's really a great way to state it.
Yeah, I mean, it's practical, right? You have Snoke, who was like all the CG and everything,
Sure.
and you see it, and people always love practical over VFX, right? And you have Maul is makeup. He's literally makeup,
Just
and
makeup.
Ray Park, the actor, is skilled in martial arts. Like,
Yes.
he's doing all his own stunts and
Yes.
everything. Like, that character is just real.
Yeah.
So, yeah, great point.
So, is this the greatest lightsaber battle ever?
The live-action movies, because I know the Clone Wars animated series all have some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
But we're talking live-action
man,
movies.
I love me some Grievous in the prequels.
Okay,
He just
yeah.
does some cool shit, and I feel like Obi-Wan's a better fighter at that point, and like their square-offs are really cool. The intensity of when Luke returns to fight Vader in Jedi.
Okay.
That might be my favorite.
What do you mean when he returns to, like, when he gives himself up on Endor and then he's with the Emperor? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That
your
whole
favorite.
battle sequence. Also, Yoda versus Dooku. Just because we get to see Yoda fight, it's so fucking cool.
The Yoda fights, yes. I mean, the Yoda versus Dooku was insane, and I remember seeing that on the internet before the movie came out, and I watched it 100 times because it's the first time you see him wield a lightsaber, and it is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And the Sidious one is even more intense because it's Yoda and the Emperor, right?
And we don't get a Mace Windu fight, really, so.
I get Mace and the Emperor.
little bit.
Yeah. But those fights are all they're all too short. I think that's why I don't like them as much. And I mean, they're over before you can even enjoy them. It almost seems like
Understandable.
The Dooku one with Yoda
this
very
one
quick.
lasts.
This one, this is 5 or 6 minutes of total screen time, And there's actually people who know film or have even kind of remotely studied it know that film is broken down into 3 acts. There's a 3-act structure of film, which is how screenplays are written. There's 3 acts to this fight, right? So this is when they first start in the Naboo hangar, and this is kind of the introduction to Darth Maul, and they're all just kind of getting their feeling for each other and, you know, how this fight is going to go. It's sort of the opening, right? And then they go into this chamber with the beams of light. This is the middle act, right?
Yeah.
Some blows are traded. Obi-Wan gets kicked to the ground and falls behind, and Qui-Gon gets a few shots in and Maul. And the third act here is when Qui-Gon gets separated, he gets killed, and then Obi-Wan has to come in and ferociously finish it and ends up killing Maul with Qui-Gon's lightsaber. The third act of which is amazing when it's just Obi-Wan versus Maul. It's incredible choreography. But so there's 3 acts to this fight, and it's not just, you know, in and out, one and done, which the other ones are just a little too quick, which in this one is just even more cool when you think about it from a technical level.
Let me jump back in the chat here. Callie Fortune, great points. All the prequels have the flashiest and coolest looking fights. The Return of the Jedi has the best fight with just the pure emotion. Totally agree with that. And then Boyd says, when Yana Force pulls the saber, it gets my dick hard.
I agree.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great fight. It's not my favorite fight. And here's why. Qui-Gon Jinn totally lets his whatever get the better of him. And he attempts to take on Maul one-on-one, which to me does not feel very Jedi-y. A Jedi would be, let's come up with a plan. Let's do it together. Let's use each other, right? And he just totally abandons Obi-Wan and chases Maul through it. And that's eventually what ends up being his death. Also, I understand what you're saying about the Duel of the Fates, but here's the truth of it is that this giant battle is actually very similar to Jedi, where we got something going on on the ground, right? We have the Gungans fighting the droids, and then we also have the air battle going on, and then we have this epic lightsaber duel, right? Which is exactly like what happens in Jedi, right? They're on the Ewoks and then Han and Leia are fighting. You got to fight in the air, and then you have the ultimate duel happening. Yeah,
definitely.
So, a couple of things. One, Maul is not sent to go get Anakin. He's sent to kill the Jedis and get Amidala, not to get Anakin. Also, Anakin is up in the space battle, being 10 years old, giving it his fucking all, and winning accidentally.
Right.
So, as much as I love the idea of that, it feels like revisionist history a little bit, and not actually maybe the intention. And I think it's just a badass score from John Williams. But the fight feels clunky to me at times. The transitions are a little clunky. Like Maul's just like, "Come get me," and then runs into the other room, and Qui-Gon just chases him. We always talk about this in wrestling. Why when the lights go out, why does the babyface just stand in the middle of the ring and wait to get beat up? Right? We know the bad guy's coming. Get the fuck out of there, right? And Qui-Gon just chases him with just losing his mind a little bit, and then gets himself pinned in a corner, and that's how he ends up getting killed because he can't handle him. So it's just as much as it's a cool fight and it looks good and the score is maybe the best of John Williams' Star Wars, it bothers me a little bit in the transitions, the fact that Qui-Gon chases him on his own, and I don't believe it is actually for Anakin's fate, because I don't even think Palpatine knows about Anakin yet.
Oh, he absolutely has to know about Anakin because he's Senator Palpatine. He knows all, right? I mean, that's just part of his character. I don't think that Darth Maul went to Tatooine to hunt down the Queen, right? And when he fights Qui-Gon in the desert, it's not necessarily for Anakin. I'll give you that. But why is Darth Maul waiting for them in the hangar in Naboo?
He's trying to get Amidala.
Darth Maul does not care about the Queen. Darth Maul is there for the
Palpatine
Jedi.
cares about the Queen.
Yes, but Palpatine knows that if he can kill the Jedi, he will get Anakin. Because he's already met Anakin at that point. He met him on Coruscant. So by the time they go back to Naboo, he already knows everything about Anakin. He's met him.
Do you think he can sense it in him?
Absolutely. If Anakin has the highest midi-chlorian count of anyone who's ever lived in their entire life, and Palpatine is friggin' Palpatine, he definitely sensed it.
Then why didn't Qui-Gon sense it?
He did. He's the one who first found him as the Chosen One.
He accidentally bumps into him, and the only reason they meet is because Jar Jar.
Yeah, what do you think? He was like going to sense him on the other side of the galaxy and be like, oh, I think
No,
there's this
but when
little
they
kid
land
here.
on that planet, you
Yeah.
would think he would have sensed him.
Well, first of all, I don't think Qui-Gon is on the same level as as Palpatine. That's like Yoda's level.
Okay.
Qui-Gon is a highly respected and very wise Jedi, very strong Jedi. I don't think he's
an idiot.
quite on that level. He is universally loved. I can't believe you want to fight about Qui-Gon. But no, the battle at the end is certainly about the fate of Anakin.
I think in the long run it is, but I don't think that's necessarily what's going on at that point. But we just kind of naturally went into it. So let's talk about Qui-Gon Jinn, We Hardly Knew Ye.
Yes, of course. Qui-Gon Jinn, like Darth Maul, another character who was such a standout character from the prequel trilogy and was only in it for one movie, but just left such a lasting impression. Josh aside, most people truly loved Liam Neeson's performance. They loved the character, and he's such an important... Qui-Gon Jinn might be maybe the most important character in Star Wars lore. I mean, I'm talking like of all time here, because if you understand the character, you'll understand why. Qui-Gon is the father figure that Anakin never had, and the father figure that he needs to turn out all right. When he meets him, he is unsure about the kid, but he knows there's something special about him, and he grows to care for him and sort of mentor him a little bit. Anakin was conceived by the midichlorians. Possibly he did not have a father.
Yeah, he's Jesus.
Yes, and and this is the father that he never had. He defies the council, Qui-Gon does, and says, I know that I need to train this kid like it's his destiny almost. And when Qui-Gon dies, that is inevitably what's going to lead Anakin down the path of the dark side. I mean, first of all, he plucks him out of Tatooine and puts him on his journey, where he could have just, if they never ran into each other, Anakin just would have stayed there and done God knows what. Qui-Gon pulls him into the bigger world of things. And when he dies, Obi-Wan is forced into the role of being the master and the mentor that he never really wanted and never really grasped. I mean, he tells Qui-Gon in the desert, remember, why do I get the sense we've picked up another pathetic life form? He never really latched onto Anakin the way that Qui-Gon did. And even in Revenge of the Sith, he says...
Go ahead.
When they're doing their lightsaber battle, he says, you were my brother, Anakin. Their relationship, even though it was master and apprentice, was always more like brothers than the father and son relationship that Qui-Gon and him would have had, that would have allowed him to grow into the right kind of Jedi. Obi-Wan failed, and he admits it, because he was not Qui-Gon. And he was forced into it by his dying wish for his master and said, yes, I will train this boy for you.
So...
But it's because of Qui-Gon that Anakin becomes Darth Vader.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But it's because of Qui-Gon's mistakes that Anakin becomes Darth Vader. So first off, I believe that Obi-Wan is holding a grudge against Anakin because basically Qui-Gon abandons Obi-Wan to train Anakin. He's literally like, oh, he's fine, like whatever, let him go. Even though at the beginning of this movie, he basically tells Obi-Wan, you're a fucking idiot, shut up and listen, do what I say, not, like, shut up and listen, kid, you don't know shit yet. But then by the end of the movie, he's just willing to let Obi-Wan be a full-blown Jedi? That seems really weird to me. So I can understand from a perspective why Obi-Wan fails, because he literally is like abandoned by his only mentor for this child, and he is literally a child. And they even talk about in the Jedi Council how young Anakin is and how he shouldn't be getting
it's
trained
about how
yet.
old he is. He's
or
too old.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Even whatever. He's basically like he's out of turn the way they train Jedis.
Yes.
Right. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Agreed.
And I think that there's all these mistakes that that Qui-Gon makes. Right. So he makes basically what I have written down here is he makes 1,000 wrong decisions that leads to the Skywalker saga. Yes, he's a father figure, but he's almost like chasing after this, like almost like Morpheus chases after Neo. It's the chosen one. This is the guy. You know what I mean? Like how Morpheus, before we meet Neo, moves through like 3 or 4 chosen ones, right? Mm-hmm. He may have thought Obi-Wan was the chosen one. We don't really know that much as far as just staying inside of the live action. I know there's plenty of other canon out there, but we don't really know why Qui-Gon's so addicted to this chosen one, or why he like abandons who arguably becomes one of the greatest Jedi of all time and arguably the last surviving Jedi for a long time, which is Obi-Wan.
I wouldn't say he abandons him. I mean, at the beginning of the movie, he says Obi-Wan still has much to learn about the living force. But when he goes to the council at the end and says he's ready to take the trials, I think you're thinking that is Qui-Gon didn't think he was ready but was kind of forcing him away so he could pick this new, younger, hotter model, right?
Yeah.
He wanted to divorce Obi-Wan so he could get in bed with Anakin, which I don't think is the case. I think when he admits to the council that Obi-Wan still has a lot to learn, but there's little left that he can learn from Qui-Gon, I think he's being honest. I mean, Padawans usually start with their Jedis around 12 to 13, according to other lore. So if Obi-Wan's around 25 in this movie, which is what the character is, he's been with him for a very long time and is ready to face the trials to be a Jedi Knight. And Anakin needs a master. I think it's organic. I mean, yes, Qui-Gon dying was not planned at all, and it forces Obi-Wan's hand, which sucks. But I don't think Qui-Gon was trying to dump Obi-Wan.
But there's something that is left undone with Obi-Wan's training, because then he later goes on to make some really boneheaded mistakes, right?
Obi-Wan as a master? Sure.
Yeah. So, like, I just feel like Qui-Gon abandons Obi-Wan and should have given the kid to the Jedi Council just straight up. And, like, here, I found this thing. He seems super powerful. His midichlorians are off the charts. Like, do what we the Jedi think, not what me, fucking Qui-Gon, I'm smarter than you, Yoda, and Mace Windu guy.
Well, that's part of the background of it, is that Qui-Gon's defiance of the Jedi Council, right? He thinks the Jedi Council has become too politicized, and they have sort of lost sight of their nature and what it means to be a
Which
true
they did,
Jedi.
because obviously they get overtaken.
That's why Obi-Wan says if you would just follow their protocols, you'd be on the Council. But Qui-Gon knows better. I think Qui-Gon Jinn represents the Jedi in the purest form, right? He is both wise and strong, but he doesn't get pulled into the politics of the council and the Senate and all that stuff. He operates on his own because he knows it's the right path for a Jedi to follow.
Yeah,
So his defiance of the council to train Anakin is because he knows it's the right thing to do, even though by their protocols they didn't. And although I will say, Yoda and Mace Windu, they all sensed the fear in Anakin, and Qui-Gon didn't seem to listen to that. So maybe there was a little bit of arrogance or something that he didn't see. Maybe he was so obsessed with him being the chosen one, he didn't think about the ramifications like the other Jedi saw. So there's something that you're saying that makes sense. Although,
Qui-Gon had eyes with Shimmy more than once. Okay.
Anakin's mom.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
it's true. I think he did what he did because he couldn't show his love the way non-Jedi could.
Meaning because he loved his mother.
Well, that's an interesting idea.
I think that's a joke.
Well, I guess, because why wouldn't he have fought harder to free her as well?
Yeah.
He just frees the kid. Yeah, I don't know. Callie Fortune, you're awesome. Please stay in the chat. All right.
But anyone, it's very, very sad that he was not around longer because it's such a beloved character, but such a powerful impact. And again, it circles back to why the Phantom Menace is so underrated.
Yeah, the best two characters are killed by the end of it.
Qui-Gon's of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Hold on. Callie Fortune says Qui-Gon freed her son instead, which is what she wanted. So that I feel like that's like the Jar Jar theory where it's not completely impossible, unlikely, but I guess not impossible.
Yeah. Something else that was cool or lame?
Another one-off for this movie, pod racing. I think pod racing is the coolest thing ever, dude. It's so much fun, and again, it comes back to the tone of the movie. It's just so fun and so exciting, and the only real place it has is to show off Anakin's skills as a pilot, right? I mean, it doesn't really accomplish, like, story-wise, yes, it helps them get the parts to get off of Tatooine because they need the parts for their hyperdrive, but there could have been any number of ways to do it instead of this giant racing sequence in the middle of the movie. So I think pod racing is insanely fun and unique and cool and exhilarating. Like, I was watching it again and just, like, my heart was pumping. The visuals are fantastic. The unique look of all the pod racers is so cool. The way it's edited, I mean, it's just,
I love it when that guy
your heart's pumping. So not only does it serve the story to show, Anakin's skill as a pilot, which...
And here's the best part. Hang on. Here's the best part.
Oh, yeah. The
Tusken Raiders.
Yeah, it introduces the Tusken Raiders. Yeah, that's this whole movie.
Best.
The whole movie is about introducing things, introducing
It's
characters
about,
in
it's
the
actually
world.
the whole movie's about the Tusken Raiders.
We see get out of here. We see Tatooine for the first time. We see Tusken Raiders for the first time. But yeah. So in A New Hope, remember Obi-Wan says your father was the best fighter pilot in the galaxy, and here we are seeing Anakin as a 9-year-old get it, and we see sort of the origins of that. So not only does it serve a point in the story, but I think pod racing is just insanely fun and cool, and I love that it's different. And do not think it's hokey or distracting at all. But Josh, what are your thoughts on pod racing?
Yeah, I mean, so if Anakin is Dale Earnhardt and Luke is Dale Earnhardt
If
Jr.
you pull a Ricky Bobby joke, I'm gonna be really mad.
No, it's legit
If you
NASCAR.
pull a
Fuck
shake and
you.
bake, I'm gonna be really angry.
You know, we're NASCAR guys now on Thoughts from the Bench. Dude, it's cool. Like I'm not gonna fight with you on this one. It's fucking awesome. I love this. It's cool. I can hear my wife in the back of my head saying it's best Sega game. Best Sega game. Pod racing is a great game. It's cool, and it makes it believable later when Anakin is just like in this fucking star fight,
right,
and happens to win it.
That's the setup for it. And a lot of even the same mechanisms and buttons that he pushes are the same.
Right,
flips
he
and
figures
things.
it out. And,
Yes.
And also it introduces R2-D2.
R2-D2 and 3PO on Tatooine comes into it a little bit.
3PO I could take or leave, but in this movie you're talking about introducing things. We hear, and it's the only time we hear it in the movie, is R2-D2 say his own name.
Baloo, 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 baloo.
Yeah,
in the Queen ship.
Yep.
Yeah.
And N64. It was on N64 as well.
Yeah, I have that game at my house. The pod racing.
It's not Sega. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. But it's awesome.
Yeah.
Pod racing sick.
Jabba the Hutt also introduced in pod
Jabba
racing.
the Hutt's
and
introduced.
That tentacle dude that always follows him
We
around.
get two characters. One's cool. One sucks. It's just it's pod racing is fucking awesome. I wish pod racing would have come up later. Like, I think had George Lucas done it, 1 through 9 instead of 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, I bet Luke would have been a pod racer.
Could be.
I really think
could be.
he
That would have
just
been a nice
naturally would have been.
But he said he bullseyed wombats in his T-16 fighter, which is
he has that mentality.
Yeah,
He's the racer's mentality,
skills,
if you want to call it that.
But again, so look, we have Darth Maul, we have Qui-Gon, we have pod racing, all things that are so, whether you love them or hate them, are almost notorious and stand out in Star Wars lore and are confined to this one movie.
Can we had this earlier in our rundown. Let's talk about the other things that were introduced.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the locations that are unique to this movie.
Yeah. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's do Naboo, because like we said, this whole story is Queen Amidala's story of the Naboo. And this is, in Star Wars, what's cool about Star Wars, or not what's cool, but what's interesting is that in the prequel series and in the latter series, which sucks and we will not mention other than just now, the world of Star Wars is very contained at times in that it's... you have a lot of things that are very restricted. You have the Empire and the First Order versus the small rebellion and the small resistance, right? So it's sort of David and Goliath, and the worlds that they operate on are not very big. You have the Dagobahs and the Hoths and the Yavins, which are in Endors to some extent sparsely populated worlds, which are unique, but it gives a sense of almost isolation or just that the world isn't that big. And what's great about this movie is when you see all the Naboo sets and exteriors, and you see Coruscant, and you see all these things, you get this sense that it is this bigger, exciting world, and it just opens things up so much in a way that I think the trilogies around the middle one do not do. They feel smaller in scale because they're just, you don't see, like you see the Gungan army, you see the city of Naboo and all the people there and the camps and things, and you see the Senate, and you see the Jedi, like you see all these awesome things. So you see the Gungan city, which is unique in itself, and you see all the Gungans, right, which is totally unique and works. So starting with just Naboo specifically embodies what I love about this trilogy. It's the new places that we see that lead to the feeling of a bigger galaxy.
Can we talk about this clip here?
Yeah, this
still
is the
here.
battle scenes at the end where the battle droids are going to come out versus the Gungans.
All this really makes me think of Wakanda Forever.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it looks exactly like Wakanda.
When the battle droids came out, I was thinking like Avengers,
Yes.
faceless CGI
Yes.
army
Yes.
type of thing. I was like, yeah, this is like the Avengers.
Yeah,
20
it's
years
exactly
earlier.
like that.
Yeah. But
Go ahead.
But yeah, so that Naboo is one of them, and then Coruscant. How fucking cool
You
is
love
that
Coruscant.
idea? I do. It's the New York City of planets.
Yes.
The whole city or the whole planet.
It's a great way to
is
describe
one
it.
fucking
Yes.
city. I mean, how cool is it? It's the center of everything, and again, this gives you the sense of how big the world is. You know, it's not Tatooine where Luke's living in one hut by himself with Aunt Beru, you know, in the middle of nowhere. Look at you have all the buildings, all the traffic, you have all the people and all the races and everything coalescing in this one giant planet. We see the Senate, you know, which is talked about so much. It's not the Empire, it's the Galactic Republic, and we get to actually see the inside of the Senate chamber. I love this shot. I really do. I think this is not only a beautifully crafted shot from a technical standpoint, but it just gives you a sense of all the star systems, right? And it just shows you how big the galaxy is.
And we know E.T.'s in there.
E.T. is in there.
He's in there,
we
hanging
showed him.
out.
Yeah, he is in there, his family. And not only that, we see the Jedi Temple.
This is the
and
coolest part.
The Jedi Council.
Yeah.
It's how cool is that?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a guy who only loves Star Wars mostly because of the Jedi, right? And if there's no lightsaber battles, I ain't watching it, you know? But you see the actual exterior of the temple. You see inside the Jedi Council. I mean, it's just, these are all locations that are introduced in this movie that open up the Star Wars world.
Right. Callie Fortune, you are now officially part of the research department. I have deemed you that. He said it was on they say, I don't know if you shouldn't judge. N64 and Dreamcast. I'm pretty sure Sega developed it as an arcade game, like a stand-up game you could sit
pod
in.
Racing. I remember there being a joystick game that was not pod racing specifically, but it was for Star Wars. Pod racing. I think there was pod racing arcade games.
Well, there was the one that we used to play where you got to pick your, like, you could be an X-wing, you could be a TIE fighter, you could be
That's what
whatever.
I'm talking about with the joystick.
Yeah,
but there is a pod
yeah.
racing. I do remember the pod racing game, and it was pretty freaking hard. It was tough. So props to Anakin. But your thought? Do you have any thoughts on the locations introduced here?
I just wanted to get my Wakanda joke in.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Not even gonna lie.
But just another example of why the beginning is so exciting, right?
Yeah.
You're introduced to everything, and it just feels like you have that wide-eyed optimism that Anakin has. You know, like, oh, we're doing this, we're checking this out. Like, it's what I get to go here. Like, that's part of why this movie works so well.
Sure. Bag of a stop. They had joystick Star Wars arcade game at the Aladdin's Castle. R.I.P. Clearview Mall.
Shout out to Clearview Mall. Yeah, Aladdin's
I
Castle.
think
arcade.
Bag of Stops is a little butler friend over there.
Bag of Stops. Yeah.
I don't know
think
who.
That's Wade.
Is it Wade?
I think it might be.
That would make
But,
sense. Wade, what's up, my boy?
Or maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, no. Butler shout out. All right, characters now. We're going to the underrated and overrated section for characters. And
Yes.
Star Wars is defined by its characters.
Here's
right?
what I want you to do in this segment.
Okay.
So we're going to go through them.
Yes.
Then we'll go back and talk about them individually.
Okay.
I want you to give overrated, underrated, and if it happens to be your favorite character, hey, Wade, if it is your favorite character, I want you to say that's my favorite, and I want you to say my least favorite.
Just of this list, right?
Yep, this list, okay?
Okay.
So we're gonna fire through them, and we'll both give our thing, and then we'll go back and talk about them more individually, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Jake Lloyd is Anakin, young Anakin, underrated.
Oh, but he's bad. I think he's...
I thought we were blowing through this. What are we doing?
I'm sorry. He's
underrated.
He's properly rated. Okay.
Okay. Qui-Gon Jinn, I don't think he's overrated.
Overrated.
No, but I don't think he's underrated. He is rated
Overrated.
Exactly the level
Come
he
on,
needs to
Brody.
be. As high as it can
Overrated.
be. He is fairly rated and tied for my first favorite with Darth Maul.
Hey, Justin.
Battle droids.
Did you ever think, man, is there anything more incompetent than a stormtrooper?
How about a robot stormtrooper?
Smacks the top of the roof. Let me tell you something here,
Jar
kid.
Jar being terrible comedic release.
Woo!
I mean, come on. Or comedic relief. Excuse
you're
me.
under arrest.
Where are you taking these people? I am taking them to Coruscant. Where are you taking them to Coruscant? Like, it's not even a challenge for the Jedi. It's almost embarrassing to have to fight. Never mind. I'm saying battle droids have their place, but they're just laughable. I don't know. I can't say they're overrated, but they're...
Right.
Yeah.
They suck. Underrated.
Droidicas
Underrated.
Yeah, Droidicas are pretty freaking cool, actually.
Like, I feel like they got
the little
roped
shield
in.
generators and everything.
They got roped in with these dumbasses.
Yes.
And they're like, yeah, this is old
There's a
tech. We don't
badass
need this
older
anymore.
cousin.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're in the other movies.
No.
I feel like they're only they're in the third one for sure, but they don't have a big role.
Yeah.
Yeah. Underrated for sure.
Ugh.
Tied for first, fucking the best. I don't think he's overrated, but he's definitely fairly rated, I think. I hope not underrated, I guess.
No, yeah, fairly rated. Yeah, he's the man. Underrated.
Underrated. Definitely.
Favorite character.
Interesting.
Love Amidala.
Wow. Okay.
She dupes everybody.
Are we diving in now, or are we going through the list?
No, she dupes everybody as Padme. You know what I mean?
Her reveal is so unlike Star Wars, isn't it?
Awesome.
Like, it's so great when she's
it's Lord of the Rings-esque.
I'm the queen, that's my decoy. I remember being like, what?
Yeah,
how cool is it? It was such a good story moment, and
really.
I want to give a shout out to the costumes department real quick, because Amidala's wardrobe and makeup is amazing, especially compared to the newest trilogy, which kind of sucks balls. Like, Laura Dern is just Laura Dern with purple hair.
Yeah.
Like, Oscar Isaac as Poe is just Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
John Boyega is just John Boyega. Like, you didn't get this level of intricacy and design and creativity.
The closest you think you get is Rey's hair.
Sure.
That's it.
Yeah. Like, their outfits a little bit, but look at this. I mean, this is just incredible.
Yeah.
So, shout out to the hair and makeup and wardrobe for this movie as well.
Okay.
Sebulba, I don't think underrated, but I think too easily forgotten. Because he's a great villain.
I literally
in pod
forget
racing.
about him
Because pod racing is such a small part of this movie, but I think he's a badass villain, at least for the pod racing segment. He's a fucking feisty he almost kills Jar Jar. He tries to kill Anakin. Like, he's got the look and the voice, and yeah, I think just I think maybe underrated. Or overlooked.
I'll give you overlooked, not underrated.
Interesting.
I'll give you overlooked. He just, like, the walking on the hands thing is like fucking weird. Yeah. I don't understand that. I think it's fucking weird.
He's a
But we're next. We're getting to my second favorite character and the most underrated character.
That's the perfect picture too. That's the perfect picture too. Hold on, before this, Wade, hello. California Faded says, could you tell the difference between the Padme actors? Brilliant costume department. Yes, agreed. Brilliant costume department, and I could not tell the difference. And the question is, what scenes are actually Natalie Portman as the Queen?
Only once.
Is it only
one? It's the clip that it's this is it. Otherwise, it's Padme the entire time.
What about when she's talking to Senator Palpatine at Coruscant? I would have to actually
go back and really look, because I thought about that too as I was watching. I was like, all right, let's make sure I notice every time it's Padme and not, or it's the double, and it's the double 90% of the time.
It's very hard to tell.
Yeah,
yes,
it's pretty great.
So again, shout out to that department.
This is
a perfect picture for Watto.
Fucking Watto. Hey, Jedi mind tricks don't work on me. Yeah.
You know, there are some people that say this was a racist portrayal and that he had sort of like Jewish undertones as far as his look and his cheapness and everything. So I don't know. George Lucas denied that, but I mean, in 1999, it's not unreasonable to think that the way he looks and sounds and his, cheapness with money. I mean, that's people have that.
Shit, no.
I don't know if it's.
Don't ruin that character for me.
I don't know. I'm not saying. I'm just saying what I'm saying. That it's out there. But
Watto's fucking
is
awesome.
a really cool character.
Yeah,
for
I
his
love
little,
Watto. Underrated.
Unique, baby. So unique.
Yeah, he's the only. In Dungeons and Dragons, he would be a non-playable character, right? He's the only one that isn't affected by Jedi mind tricks that we come across.
Yeah,
everybody else.
Yes.
But not him.
I'm a Toydarian. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah.
I think your friends are screwed. I love Watto.
Yes. My thing for Watto, underrated. Yeah.
Yeah, underrated. Do we even need to talk about this?
I mean, Mace Windu has such a small role in this movie.
No,
nearly as badass.
Stop analyzing it.
Well, what are you saying?
I'm saying
underrated?
This is the best character in Star Wars canon. He has a purple lightsaber, which is the one I had after this movie came out, as I had the Mace Windu lightsaber. Yeah. And he's the man, Samuel fucking Jackson.
Nice. Yeah. Love the character. Yeah, but in this movie, just sort of background player.
Keira Knightley?
As one of the bodyguards.
No shit.
I'd have to look it up, but that could be true. That would have been.
If Keira Knightley's the double.
I don't know if she was
like,
the double.
How much
she might have been.
Hang on a second.
She might have been one of the doubles.
How much of your teenage crushes were jammed into that movie if Keira Knightley and Natalie Portman are in the same one? It's like
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I'm looking Keira Knightley up right now.
Yeah, go for it.
Just on her filmography.
She was Padme.
No, Natalie Portman was Padme.
Well, but
And that she would have had to have been one of the...
she might have been the double.
Sabe, that's her. Yeah, the Queen's double.
She's the double.
Keira Knightley. Wow.
Woo!
Californian Faded with the trivia.
Fuck yeah.
How about
Californian Faded.
Yeah, as the double, Keira Knightley. Go figure.
Dude, that's crazy.
I didn't know that.
That's crazy.
Well, Pirates of the Caribbean didn't come out till 2003, so this is
Right.
4 years before that. So Keira Knightley would very much have been an unknown at that time. But it's just funny when you realize like who those, when you see those older roles.
Also, just like what you like, dream girl, like celebrity crushes.
I mean, if Emma was in it,
right? Emma's like the fourth one in the back. Yeah.
Dominic West actually is another person who was everyone knows from The Wire. Very famous
okay,
British actor.
yeah.
He played the guard who was like, the boys here to see Padme. That's Dominic West of The Wire fame. So another actor, who's only in it for a second, but then went on to have a bigger career. So,
GOAT.
Under fucking rated.
Always.
In this movie, amazing.
He's awesome.
And you know this is the same actor who played the Emperor.
Yep.
He played him the whole way
Yep.
through, including the most recent one.
Yep.
Ian McDiarmid.
Yep.
And he's so brilliant as the charming senator that you never suspect anything of. Yeah. I mean, you probably know especially once they tell you his name. But boy, when you look at him, you're like, I just like this guy. Mm-hmm. Underrated. Boss Nass.
God.
I don't know how people think about him. I would say evenly rated. Like he's fine. I'm surprised people don't hate on him more than they hate on Jar Jar, to be honest.
I think you forget about him.
Yeah.
Kind of like Sebulba, you forget about him a lot.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's the embodiment of goofy ass Gunganism.
Yeah.
So if I were gonna hate him or Jar Jar, he'd be the one that I would dislike. But I think I like the race of Gungans. I think they're interesting and kind of funny. So Boss Nass is okay in my book. Holy shit! What? What are you doing? Why is this Tom Holland as Obi-Wan? This is the only way to Obi-Wan could be a little better.
Yeah.
Tom Holland. The only way young Obi-Wan. This is too young. Young Obi-Wan is just fucking underrated. He might be my favorite character in all of the new Star Wars movie, in all of the prequel trilogy. Yeah. Like for characters who lasted,
Well,
hands down, he's the best. And if Obi-Wan had his own series on Disney Plus, which they're supposedly doing, I would watch that in a heartbeat. So, and young Obi-Wan in this movie is so interesting because you see the sense of sort of his willingness to, like, he wants to be a part of the Jedi Council, but there's also moments where he's okay with Qui-Gon's like defying it, even though he's sort of drawn to it more. And you see a lot of, like, when he's fighting Darth Maul, you see his ferocity and his intensity. Like,
I see a lot of Luke in him.
Yeah,
to be honest, I really do. And Luke is my favorite character throughout the Star Wars universe, period.
Okay.
So, even old Luke
Yeah.
in the sequels. I love Luke in the sequels. I mean, there's parts of it that are, him throwing the lightsaber is kind of shitty. But, like, Luke from start to finish is a great arc, right? And Mark Hamill's the man. So, I loved seeing, like, Luke's teacher younger.
Definitely. And it's cool. He's just, like, fiery in a way that not all Jedis are.
Right. And then
he's wise, but he's also got this, fierceness.
He might also be the best character that transitions from the sequels to the original trilogy. As far as, like, you see, like, oh, that's why he's so laid back when he's like, that's no moon. Yeah. Like, he's just like, yeah, it's no moon. I've been tied to a pole while this lizard thing tried to eat me, and I rode it out of a stadium. Yeah. Fuck the moon. Who cares about the moon?
But no, like I mentioned in the open, so you see this trilogy through Padme and Anakin's and Obi-Wan's eyes, right? In the second and third movie, like, Anakin's super angstiness and their relationship is just so thin and, like, awful, and the acting between those two.
Well, they're so close in age, too.
The acting between Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman is terrible. Hayden Christensen, for sure. And Natalie Portman, to be fair, is not far behind.
I don't know how you can't have chemistry with Natalie Portman.
I feel like
maybe they should have kept Keira Knightley. Am I right, California Faded?
Maybe they should have. I think Obi-Wan grounds this entire trilogy. His character keeps it grounded because he's just so likable and realistic, and he's just, like, his emotions. I don't know. I think he is what makes the first trilogy what it is in my book.
These fucking guys.
The Nemoidians. Yeah. Interesting choice. I don't think they're overrated or underrated. I think people don't think about them. I think they're forgotten like those other characters.
Dude, they're just so dumb.
Yeah, they're just politicians that are doing the bidding.
And
They're
like,
puppets.
whose side are they on?
They're Palpatine's puppets, and
But
I
then-
think they play that role just fine.
But then they also like fuck that up.
Well, yeah,
Like,
they're not
they
the
can't even be
brightest.
good
Yeah,
puppets.
they're cowards, but they're unique. They're
cool
it's
looking.
Practical. These are practical costumes and
Yes.
makeup. They're not VFX.
Yes,
Another
yes,
reason
which
why I like them so much.
Makes
So-
no sense why
Yeah.
this would be, but anyway.
Oh my
Underrated.
God.
He's
Who-
a Sith Lord.
this character?
He's the fucking
I don't
man.
remember this character being in
Jar
the movie.
Jar Binks.
I wish this character was. He looks pretty awesome.
Dude, right?
You think Jar Jar is underrated? That's the character that everybody hates the most. And you think he's underrated?
I think when you watch it through the lens of
Yeah, he's a Sith Lord. You're
the
goofy
Sith
ass
Lord,
lens.
it's
Yeah.
like, please do yourself a favor, go back and watch it with that tone to it.
Yeah.
Because it changes the movie entirely. Especially every time Jar Jar's on screen, you're like watching him a little closer, and you're like, huh, what
Okay.
the fuck's that guy doing?
Maybe, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
Is there anybody when you go back and revisit?
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
we already talked about Qui-Gon and Darth Maul enough, and
Yeah.
I think we said enough about each of them.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
But listen, I can't stress enough that why this movie works is the tone, right? It's so fun and exciting and new and optimistic. There's so much potential. Like, look at the ending scene of this movie when they have the parade down the streets of Naboo. It's so jubilant and so uplifting, and it feels like everyone's going to have great things done, right? Like, Qui-Gon dies at the end, which sucks. But Obi-Wan gets promoted to Jedi Knight. Anakin's going to be trained to be a Jedi. Queen Amidala just had this massive victory in the political arena and on the battlefield. And it's like all of these guys are going to go on to have great careers and do great things. It's so optimistic. And it's just like so positive. And none of the other movies are like that at all. And I just love how unique this movie is in terms of pod racing, Darth Maul, Qui-Gon. I mean, all these things are specific to this movie. So in closing, I still can't say enough how underrated this movie is, and if you watch it with the right mind and not just focusing on, I think Jar Jar's dumb, and if you understand what the movie's about and what it accomplishes, and just the gap between the original Star Wars and this one, and all the new things they could do with the effects and choreography and the visuals and everything. This movie is just, to me, so freaking underrated in the live-action Star Wars movies. And you have never been a fan.
allow me to read what I wrote literally at the top of the page. I've now watched this movie twice in a calendar year, and every time as I sit there and it's happening to me, I stop and ask myself, Joshua, what choices have you made that have landed you here? And every time it's fucking Thoughts from the Bench. And I've literally invented Jar Jar as a Sith Lord to make the Phantom Menace watchable.
Well, you are missing out, my good man.
It's terrible.
You are truly missing out. It's unique among all the
There's
movies.
cool parts.
It's
Cool
unique.
parts.
Yeah,
But it's a
among all
bad
the Star
movie.
Wars movies, and it is amazing.
It's a real bad movie.
And I'm just gonna play this because I don't want to listen to you talk anymore.
Okay.
Because you are crazy.
All right.
You are crazy.
Okay.
The Duel of the Fates.
All right, Californian Faded. We're here every Wednesdays at 7 talking
Yeah,
movies.
good trivia.
We also have our flagship show tomorrow at 6. That's 2 beers deep. We talk sports and a little bit of everything. Mondays is Idiot Hour. That's our pop culture variety show where we'll play games. We do all sorts of fun shit. We're new to Twitch. This is us trying to make this jump from our Facebook platform. We've been around for 3 years. Thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you guys next week on Thoughts from the Movies with another insane topic.
Thank you guys for watching. See you next week.
Turn the tunes up.